And even it's proved again in Matthew as Jesus goes to the desert for a period of 40. Israel was in the desert for 40 years. Jesus was in the desert for 40 days. And they were both tested there. But Jesus passed the test. And not only is Jesus here a new Israel, but he's also the Savior of Israel as well. So he is a new Moses, a new deliverer, to save his people out of bondage, not only from the Herods, but from death, the great end of us all. As it says, when Herod realized he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinities who were 2 years old and under, in accordance with the time he had learned from the Magi. So, we all know the wise men spilled the beans. But Herod here tricked the wise men, like the Grinch tricked the innocent little girl, Cindy Lou. It wasn't their fault. They were just being nice. Now, the wise men, contrary to common expectations, did not arrive at Christmas. I mean, even though all the songs say they arrived at Christmas, they actually came a little bit later. When they came, Jesus was in a house. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. Whereas when Jesus was born, he was born in the stable, in the manger area, in a little cave. Yeah. Perhaps, being men, they didn't ask for directions. Except there was one person they did ask directions from. Good old King Herod, or mean old Grinch Herod. Herod asked them to report back to him when they found the child. But, like Joseph, they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod. And so Herod knew when the star appeared, and he knew how old Jesus would be. So tacking on a year for good measure, he ordered the slaughter of all the children 2 years old and under. And as it says in verse 18, a voice is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children and refusing to be comforted, because they are no more. Ramah is 10 to 12 miles away from Bethlehem. That's like West Vancouver. This is a loud noise. This is great weeping and gnashing of teeth. As we look at verse 19, Jesus' family was saved from this early death. They were saved by God acting and by Joseph's obedience. And Herod, shortly after them, died. And an angel actually came to Joseph and told him that Herod had died. But the interesting thing is, the same language here is used when Moses learns the people who tried to kill him in Egypt had died as well. Those who were trying to kill you are dead. So yeah, we have Jesus as the new Moses here because it's the exact same language. I mean, good stuff. So Herod is now dead. 4 BC, he died. You can check that, but that's what all the history books say. However, unlike the Grinch, he never changed his heart. His heart never grew 3 sizes larger, and he never gave back the presents.
Aww.
But he stayed actually in anger and bitterness. And he left 3 Grinchlets to take over for him. Yeah. But who were these 3 new Grinches who took over for dear old Dad? Well, there was Archelaus, who ruled Judea, Edom, and Samaria. This was the lion's share of Herod's kingdom, the whole southern area. There was Antipas, who ruled Galilee and the Decapolis on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So the whole Galilean area there. And there was Philip, who ruled not Israel, but the portion to the north, which is actually nowadays Lebanon and part of Jordan. And so Archelaus was the worst of the bunch. This guy was not a nice fellow. He was as vicious as his father, with none of the wisdom. Picture, if you will, Mr. Bean crossed with a character from The Sopranos. Oh yeah, this guy's vicious but inept. And everyone knew it. And then there was Antipas. He was Herod's son who'd spent his life hiding in the shadows. He wanted, power, and he wanted ambition, but he knew not to step out too much, lest he be chopped down like his brothers were. So he learned a measure of discretion. And then there was the 3rd brother, Philip. Philip was a wimp. I mean, he just would not stand up for himself. We see this because his brother Antipas stole his wife, and Philip didn't even protest, didn't even fight him over it. In fact, the only one who spoke out and said, "That's wrong," was John the Baptist. And we all know how that ends. Oh. Yeah. What Grinches were these Herod's children? I mean, what Grinches? So as it says in verse 22, "But when he heard that Archelaus was reigning in Judea, in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there." So Joseph, who would have liked to have gone back to Bethlehem, because it was right beside the big city, and there were great opportunities to earn money the closer to the large city you are, good work, found he could not go there, because this inept, bloodthirsty guy was in control, and he just killed, no discretion. I'll give you an example. Archelaus began his reign with the deliberate slaughter of 3,000 of the most influential people in the country. And he became ruler, but not king, as Herod's will specified. This was actually held back by Rome until he proved himself. And he proved himself inept. In fact, in 6 AD, when he went to Rome to see if he could finally get the title king, he was banished, and all of his possessions were taken away, and we hear nothing from him after that point. This is why the Roman governors were ruling Judea, and why Jesus suffered under Pontius Pilate and not a Herod. He suffered under a governor of Rome, not one of the Herods. However, Jesus did meet one of the Herods. He met Antipas, Herod's son, and he didn't say anything to him. I guess he didn't like him. So Joseph and Mary went and settled under Antipas, who wasn't as bloodthirsty as his brother, but wasn't a wimp, in Nazareth. And Jesus was called a Nazarene. So Herods can't stop Christmas, though they'd like to. What are the Herods we face today? We face the Herods of materialism, of anger, of oppressive jobs, of pride, of lust, of violence,